Hey, hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Ranjan and this is Deep Learning Playlist, and today I will be covering what are the default data sets that are available in the TensorFlow, and I will show you the LSTM implementation using TensorFlow. And I have covered some of the basics of the deep learning, so how neural network works and a classification neural network using TensorFlow. Well versed with the deep learning concepts, so you can watch this video. So let's start this video without wasting any further time. So first of all, I will import TensorFlow STF, and if you are using TensorFlow first time, you need to install TensorFlow by using pip install TensorFlow. Here is the beautiful features of the TensorFlow, that is TensorFlow datasets. So TensorFlow has released another platform which is TensorFlow datasets, in which you can also upload datasets, and many of us has already uploaded many datasets, so we can use those datasets without need to search anywhere on the internet. So because some of us are not aware like how to find the dataset, on which dataset I can work, we can use this feature TensorFlow datasets. And this is a library. If you are using this first time, you need to do pip install TensorFlow datasets. So I've already installed this, so I don't need to install, and NumPy, and this is a basic library. I will be using GPU to run this program, and if you are not having a GPU, don't worry, you can also run without GPU, or you can refer Google Colab. So it will show me like what are the default devices I have on my system, and you will see like there are CPU and GPU. If you will see, this is XLA, that is accelerated linear algebra. So if you are having a GPU, so you will see like this one GPU, core GPU, and this is accelerated linear algebra. If you have more than one GPU, you will see many lines. So I will just fetch the GPU. So this is my GPU, and I have already installed CUDNN library on my this system. So if you want to use GPU for your TensorFlow, you need to install CUDNN or CUDA library. If you are facing any problem while installing CUDA library or CUDNN, you can let me know by the comment. I will upload a video on that. And this is if I want to see the logs, what are the messages, what are the processes that is going in the backend, I can set it as true, so I don't need that logging, so I will just keep it as comment. And now I will save all my GPUs in this variable. So this is tensorflow.config.experimental list physical device. It will store all GPUs in this GPU, and here I am restricting my TensorFlow to use the first GPU. I have only one GPU, so if you have more than one GPU, you can refer 0, 1, 2, whatever the GPU you want to use in TensorFlow. And this is the configuration that I am forcing TensorFlow to use first GPU. And here I am seeing like what are the length of GPU, like how many GPUs and how many CPUs I have. So I am just printing physical GPUs, so it is giving me one physical and one logical. So now it will use my GPU. First thing, this is the TensorFlow dataset alias that I have created in the above. This is, and now I have to use list builder. Builders are data set here. So I will just run this. So you will see like there are these many data sets are already in the TensorFlow. Some of these data sets are related to text, and some of are related to image. If you will see, these are the reviews. So you can explore each and every data set. This is very popular dataset, the citrus leaves. You will see common voices are related to NLP as well. So it has many datasets, and it is getting increased each and every day. If I will see like how many datasets are there, I will show you. So it has 213. Last week I have seen that it was around 201. So it is getting added each and every day. So from these datasets, I am using IMDb. So basically, IMDb is a very popular website in which we can see the reviews, ratings of any movie or any TV serial, whether it would be Hollywood or Bollywood. So I am using this dataset, and in this dataset, I have many reviews, and each review is classified as 0 or 1. So 0 means that is negative, and 1 means that is positive. That means movie or TV series is awesome. If I need to see any information like how that data set is stored in this, so what I have to do, I will use my alias tfds dot builder. This is a dataset method, and in this I will refer IMDb reviews. If I need to see the information, I just need to type dot info. Okay, so it will give me exact information that it has. It is not necessary that I have to use IMDb reviews. I can use anyone. So I am using LMLB, so it will give me information for LMLB. So I will show you like whatever the information. So this is IMDb reviews. It has version. It is showing me that it has 25,000 movies reviews. It has two data sets. One is test and other is train. So in test it has 25,000 reviews, and in train it has 25,000 reviews. And it has also unsupervised data. So unsupervised means that there would be no label. You have to predict whether that review is a negative or a positive. So it has total example around 1 lakh. So 50,000 are labeled one and 50,000 are unlabeled. So it is showing me that in this there would be two columns. First is text in which review is stored, and other is label in which it would be a 1 or 0. So it has some citations. So to use TFDS or any dataset that is stored in TensorFlow, what I have to do, in some dataset we have only train data, so we have to split that data train into test, but in this it is already splitted, so I don't need to do splitting. So I will create two variables. First is IMDb train and second would be IMDb test. So it is not mandatory whether I want to use DS info or not. It's not mandatory. So what I will do, I will use tfds.load and I will give the name of the dataset, and I will use a split which is train. So it has three split: test, train, unsupervised. So I am using train in train dataset and with info true. So if I am using DS info, I need to set it as true, and as supervised true. If I will not use this true, so it will give me dictionary structure, but I want tuple structure so that I can call it easily. So I have to use true here, and here I am using IMDb underscore test. So it would be my test dataset, and in this I am using same everything, but apart from split I am using train here. In this I will use test here, and as supervised equal to true because I want to convert dictionary into tuples. So that ds underscore info that I have called here, and it will give me information of the dataset that we have already seen above. So now I will show you what is the type of the dataset I have created. So it is TensorFlow dataset, and it would be prefetched dataset. So that dataset already fetched from that TensorFlow. So if I need to see like how reviews are organized, what I have to do, as I have already explained you, that in IMDb underscore train it has two things. So first is text, that would be a review. I will create a loop here. So I will use two variables. First is example and other is label. So in this example it would be having a review, and I'm just taking three reviews. So I will print example and label. So I will show you how it looks like. So this is my first review. From here it would be till there. So it has a example, and here you are seeing that this is showing this tf.tensor. It is showing me, it is giving me type of the object, and here it is showing me shape, and here it is showing me data type, and in the another line it is showing me that value is 0. So that 0 means that is label. So here label is 0, that means this is negative. So if you will see why it is negative, because here it is disappointed. So that has been already classified, that is label data. If I don't want to see these things, tf.tensor, shape, df type string, what I need to do, I just need to type numpy. Now you will see in the example I don't see anything like that. If I do want to same for label, I will use numpy here as well. So you will see now I don't have that information, that I don't need it. So it will just showing me 0 0 or 0. Okay, so what I need to do now, I need to do tokenization. So tokenization means here I just need to break this sentence into tokens. So tokens means break into separate word. Like this is a complete sentence, so this is a complete string. So what I have to do using tokenization, it will break that sentence into words. So it will create a list of strings. So first I will create a variable tokenizer, and in this tokenizer I will use a function which is in tfds.features.text as a tokenizer. So here I will create a blank set. I am using set here because I don't want to repeat the tokens, because some words are repeated in that review. It could be exist in this review, it could be exist in this review. So I am using a set here, so I don't want values to repeat. Here I am using for example and label, because I have already explained that a review and there would be a label. So and I need to tokenize the IMDb underscore train datasets. So here I am creating a new variable which is some tokens. So it will create a tokens and it will store into this variables. I am using a loop here. So first it will take a first review, and in the first review it will store all the tokens in some tokens, and I will update some tokens in my blank set. So each and every time whenever a new review will come in this loop, it will store all the tokens in this. So I will show you how it looks like. So it has created, so you will see like it has created a separate token, it has created a list of strings, so it has many tokens have created. But now I want to see like what is the maximum number of the tokens in any sentence. Like suppose in first sentence it could have 70 tokens, it could have 100 tokens, it could have 150 tokens. So I want to see what are the maximum number of the tokens in any single sentence. So what I have to do, I have to use a new variable in this, which is maximum tokens. So here I am setting a maximum tokens as 0. So whenever length of the tokens is greater than the max tokens, so I will store in that. So here I am using a maximum tokens. If that maximum tokens is less than length of these tokens, so it will not come into this loop. If it is greater than the maximum tokens, it will go into that thing. So at the last I will get the maximum tokens. So this is my vocabulary set. If I will see, the type would be set, and I will see the length. So length is 93929, and I will see what is the maximum tokens in any particular single sentence. So I will see it is 2525. Or tokenization is completed. So first step in the NLP is tokenization. Whenever we have to analyze any text, we have to divide the sentence into tokens. So our tokenization is completed. Now it's about text encoding. So what is text encoding? So it's a basically process of text vectorization. If you are not aware about what is text vectorization, I have created a video on text vectorization. You can refer this video. I have explained what is text vectorization. So basically text encoding or text vectorization is the converting the sentence into a numeric, because machine learning or NLP or deep learning only understands numeric numbers. It does not understand a alphabet or a word or a string. So what we have to do, we have to convert into numbers. So here I am creating a new variable which is encoder. So I will use a function which is token text encoder. So it will convert token into numbers. So that function exists in features.text. I am mentioning my vocabulary set that I have created here. It has tokens only. So here I'm using tokenizer equal to tokenizer. So tokenizer is a parameter, and here I'm using a this tokenizer that I have created above this one. So my encoder is created. By using this encoder, I can encode or decode. So encoder means I will convert my strings or a words into numbers, and decoder would be converting back numbers into string. I will show you like how encoder and decoder work. So this is my sample string. I'm just showing you like how it does, how it converts alphabets into numeric. I am using here encoded string. It would be my new variable, and in this I'm using encoder dot encode, and here I'm using my sample string that I have created here. So it will create a encoded string, and in another step I am using a my original string that would be a new variable. It will decode encoded string that I have created here. It will decode that string and it will give a same input. So here I am using encoding and here I am using decoding. So encoding means converting a string into numbers, and decoding means that I have created a numeric numbers. I have created a numbers here, so it will convert numeric numbers into a string. So I will show you how it will. So this is my encoded string. So it has converted hello dear how are you to these numbers, and how it has converted these numbers you will understand from this video. If I have decoded that, so it would be like this, and it is equal to my original string. So now I am using that encoder on my original data set, which is my vocabulary set. So here I'm creating again, which is my encoder here. So I'm creating here IMB encoder. I'm just changing the name only. So this is my maximum token size we have already seen, and this was vocab size. So it has my vocabulary set. I am just trying to verify whether my tokenization and encoding works. So what I will do, I will first create a encoding. So this is my original data set, and I have converted that thing into encoded. So I will see first type of the encoded. So and now I will see like how encoded looks like. So you will see encoded would be like numbers. So that was my original string, and it has converted that string into these numbers. So it has converted by using encoder. So now I will decode that thing, whether by decoding I am getting my previous string or not. So if you will see, I have used decode and uses encoded in the parameter, so I got my original string back. So that means my tokenization encoding is working fine. So now my encoding is completed. So now it's about transformation. So transformation is padding here. So what is padding? Padding here means I will add some extra numbers. Suppose these are the my tokens. I love coffee or tea or cold drink. So here I have first sentence, here I have second sentence, here I have third sentence. And this is a text vectorization. You need to see my that video that I have referred, then only you will get a better clarity on this. So in first sentence I have this word and this word. And in second sentence I have this word, I have this word, I have not this word, I have tea. And in third word I have this word and this word. So here I have some blank values. So what padding will do, it will just add a zero here because it does not have any that token in that sentence. So basically there are three sentences. In first sentence I have I love coffee, and in second sentence I love tea, and in third sentence I love. For that padding I am creating a function here. So I am giving a name encode pad transform. So my encoded data would get padded here. So this was my encoded data, and here I am creating a new variable which is pad. And in pad I am using this function which is sequence, because I have to remember the sequence here. So sequence dot pad underscore sequence, here I am using my encoded data, and here I am using padding post that I have add the padding at the last. So maximum length would be 150. So the whole sentence, so number of the words in one sentence I have to take care till 150 only. I can refer any number here, but I am using 150 here. And what it will return, it will return numpy dot array padding. It will return the padded value. And second function I'm using here, as TensorFlow does not use by default Python function, so I have to create a separate function so that I can use a Python function in my TensorFlow dataset. So here I am using encoded, this is my variable, and in that variable I am using TensorFlow.python function. This is the method name by which I can use my Python function in TensorFlow. So I can apply my Python function on TensorFlow dataset. So here I am using my encode pad transform, which is my function name, this function name. And here I am taking input as sample. So that sample is this. Whenever I will call that function, I will define a sample here. So that sample value will come here. And this is t out. So it is type of the data. Basically it would be tf.int64. It's a data type. And here I am setting shape as none, label dot set shape as blank. So it will return me encoded values, and it will return label, and it would be a with padded values. First I will check only 10 values on the 10 reviews. If you will see, like I have created a subset here. In subset I am adding first 10 reviews in subset and creating new variable which is tst test, and in test I am mapping that function I have created here to subset. So if I will see the type of the test, it would be a map dataset because I have mapped function to my dataset. And if I will see the content of the test, I won't be able to see directly. So because it has two values, review or label. So earlier I was using example, I can use anything because it's a variable's name. So if I will see, it would be like this. So it has created a padding here. I have taken the 150 length only. If you will calculate, it would be a 150. This would be 144 till here, and it's six values, so it would be only 150. And this is the padding. It has added the zero at the last, and this is my encoding values, and this is my padding. So it would look like this. So now what I will do, I will just call my function or map my function to whole data set. So I am using encoded train. It will create my new data set, train data set, and it would be of encoded with padding. So it will map my function, and here I am defining auto tune. So that would be like how many numbers of parallel calls you have to take while processing. So it depends on your GPU or CPU configuration. So I am using auto tune, so it will detect the best parameter by itself. My train and test data has been created. So now it's about preparing the model. I have to define the number of the layers. So in this I am using a LSTM model. So basically LSTM refers to the long short term memory neural network. So LSTM is a type of RNN. RNN is recurrent neural network. And if you are not aware what is RNN, what is LSTM, this link is showing everything in better clarity. If you will try to read this, you will get a better clarity, you will get understand. If you are facing any difficulty while understanding RNN or LSTM or GRU, just let me know by the comment. I will upload a separate video on this topic, basic intuition of RNN and LSTM. So this is recurrent neural network, so it is just a basic symbol of RNN. So what is showing here, this A means activation function, and this X means input, and this H means output. So in this, if you will see, this output is getting back and it is getting into activation function. So if you will see, my complete input would be X1 plus this. So that is recurrent neural network. If I will unfold this or will expand this, so you will see this structure. So this output is going into this input, and this output is going into this input, and my original output is getting into that layer. So basically, at each level, at each layer, my input would be combination of its past output and its input. So in case of RNN, we have some problems like exploding gradient descent and vanishing gradient descent. The weight is going to change, is getting very less or it is getting very high. So in case of exploding, it is getting very high, so that we are not getting the perfect weights. And in case of vanishing gradient descent, the gradient, that difference that we need to update into the original weight, it is getting very less. So that is a problem of vanishing gradient descent. To solve such problems, or the problem of long term dependency, because if we have very long sentence, it has some memory problem. See, so it is not able to store that memory, it is just able to store its consecutive memories, but in case of previous input, it is not getting saved. I will be covering these in my next videos. So in this videos, I'm just covering some basics. So it have three problems. So first is the problem of long-term dependency and the vanishing gradient and exploding gradient. So these problem got solved in LSTM. We can solve these problems by using an RMS prop, or we can use any other gradient descent algorithm, but I am using here LSTM. If we are moving from RNN to LSTM, that means we are introducing more and more controlling knobs which control the flow and the mixing of the input as per train weights. So by using LSTM, we are introducing some flexibility in controlling the outputs. So if you will see, the LSTM will give us the most control ability and thus better results, better clarity, better accuracy. And after LSTM, they have GRU, which is gated recurrent unit. So here I am creating LSTM. So in this, I have already vocab size, which was around 99,000. So I'm creating that variable, and this is embedding dimensions. And other is RNN units, the number of neurons in RNN layer. And this would be my batch size. I can keep that batch size to any number, but I'm keeping 100 s. And I am creating another function which is built model LSTM. In this, I am defining my all variables, and in model I am creating a sequential model, and in this I will define first layer, which is embedding. So what is embedding layer? So this is my embedding layer. So it is basically an alternative to one hot encoding. I need to convert categorical characters into numeric characters. So I won't use one hot encoding here because it will create higher dimension, and in higher dimension it would be a curse of dimensionality. So I would not use one hot encoding. So here I will use embedding layer. So in embedding layer, I have to define input dimension, output dimension, or embeddings, or such things, mask zero, and all these things. So here I am creating first layer, which is embedding. In embedding, I am calling vocab size, and embedding dimension, which I have created 64 here. Mask zero, that means I have added padding here. That's why I am adding true. Otherwise, if I will keep false, it will be error because I have added padding already. And this would be my batch input shape, which is batch size. And in next layer, this is my LSTM layer. In this LSTM layer, I am defining RNN units, which I have defined 64. Those 64 neurons would be there. And this would be my last layer, would be output layer, in which only one neuron would be there. And if you will see, like say interview question as well, in LSTM we have activation function as 10h. So output would be -1 to 1. But in output, I am using a sigmoid function, so my output would be 1 or 0. So here I'm defining return model. So here I am creating a model, vocab size, embedding dimension that I have defined earlier, and this would be my RNN unit, and this would be my batch size. So this is my model summary. I have first layer, which is embedding. The number of inputs are 100, batch size is 100, and 64 would be neurons number in that layer, and in LSTM it would be same 64 neurons, and the parameter would be 4, it would be 33024. And in dense layer, I have have only one neuron, so it would be 65, 64 plus 1. So total parameters that need to be trained, so it would be around 60 lakh. And here I can save my model to see in the netron, and here I am using compile. So in case of compile, I have to define loss, optimizer, and the metrics that I want to see: accuracy, precision, recall. So first metric would be a loss that I don't need to define. So apart from the loss, I am defining three other metrics. So I have compiled this, and now it's about training. I am just creating a another data set which is my encoded train batch. I'm just creating a batch size of 100. So first it will process 100, then it will process next 100. So in this I am using model.fit. I am training my model or fitting my model on this loaded data which is encoded train by calling the fit function. So here I am defining some epochs. So epochs are like how many times it will pass through all of the rows in the training data set. So if you will see, it will run for first epoch and it has 250 parameters. So it will go, and so it is giving me that accuracy. So it will take time. So if you will see in the first epoch, I have 0 0.4 loss and accuracy is 0.80, like 80%. So it is getting good accuracy. If I want to get good accuracy, so I can increase the number of epochs. You can try more number of epochs in your system. And in this, if you will see, I have not created a variable, which is history. In next step, I am creating a variable. In this, I have defining a simple model.fit. But if I will define history, so by defining history I would be able to call our loss, accuracy, precision, recall. So I will show you. So first let it complete. It is taking approx 10 seconds in every epoch. I have GPU, but if in case I don't have GPU, it would take much time. If you don't have GPU, you can try in Google Colab as well. So my all 10 epochs has been completed, but in this I am not seeing any values. I am seeing the values, loss, accuracy, and precision, but I won't be able to call these values in my graph or in anywhere. So what I need to do, I have to define this whole thing into history. So I will run it again. So in case of history, I can define any variable. It's not that necessary. I need to define history, but I'm defining history because in history there is a method which is history. So if I will define history.history, so it will give me dictionary type structure. I will show you. So my 10 epochs is completed here. So now I have trained our model on the entire data set. Now we have to evaluate the performance of the network on the same data set. So it will generate some values, accuracy, precision, recall, all the things. So now I am saving model.evaluate into results so that I can call results at a later stage. It will also complete 10 epochs. So if you will see, the first epoch is starting from here till this point, and second is starting from here to till this point, and third is starting from here and getting till this point. So it has completed. So if I will type results, it will show me that this is my loss, this is accuracy, this is precision, this is recall. And if I need to see the history.history keys, it will generate a dictionary structure. So if I will run history.history, it will show me loss for every epoch. On first epoch it was this, in last epoch it was this, and in case of accuracy also it would be give me 10 values. So that's why I define history, so that I would be able to recall these values at the any stage. Here I am using test loss, and from history.history I am using loss, so it all values would be stored into test loss. So here I am creating a graph. So this is my growth over the time, over the epochs. Earlier the loss was this, and over the epochs, so loss is getting decreased. If you will see, like at the seventh epoch it has touched approximately zero loss. So this is my training loss, so loss is getting zero. And as we have used LSTM model, I can use bi LSTM. So that means bi-directional LSTM. So I will give you some glimpse of bi-directional. So basically bi-directional LSTM looks like this. It will go in both direction. This is going in this direction and this is going in this direction. So it has created a loop. If I want to use bi LSTM, I can use like this. I'm defining the same variables here as well, but in this I will define two layers, which is my bidirectional layer. So in this I have to use LSTM in its Earlier I was using only LSTM, but in this I am using bidirectional, and inside bidirectional I am defining LSTM. In LSTM by defining RNN units, so I am using two bidirectional layers here. So if you will see summary, the summary would be like this. First layer, this is my embedding. On this I am using dropout, so some neurons would be deactivated to just avoid overfitting. And here I am using another layer which is bidirectional. In this bidirectional I am using dropout, and third layer would be another bidirectional, and on bidirectional I'm using dropout, and final layer would be my dense layer, which would be my output layer. In this I would have only one neuron. So this would be my total trainable parameters. This would be each and everything would be same like as we have done in the earlier. In case of bidirectional LSTM, I have to define this bidirectional layer only, and apart from this everything would be same. So here I am fitting the model. In this video I have used IMDb dataset, and as I have shown you, there are many datasets which you can use. Each and everything would be same like we have used below. So you can use any review dataset. If you will use review dataset here, so each and every coding would be same. And apart from this, there are many datasets which you can use. Over the time, you will use all the dataset. You would be expert in TensorFlow and deep learning. So it will take time because it is bidirectional STM. So it will take approximately double time to, and in this I have used only 5 epochs. If you will see, it is taking 1 minute 20 seconds in one epoch. So now I have evaluated the data. So that is the accuracy, precision recall I am getting. So it was the by LSTM as well. So that's all in this particular video, and I will upload this code in Google Drive and GitHub link. So I hope I have able to explain you each and every line of code in RNN using TensorFlow. And if you really enjoyed the content of the video, so just hit the like button in this video and just comment if you're facing any doubt. So this would really help my channel to grow because YouTube will recommend if you will like and comment on this video. So do share this video with your friends and colleagues. So subscribe my channel if you have not subscribed. So don't forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications of my further videos in your inbox. So see you all in the next video. Till then, goodbye, enjoy, happy learning.